Welcome to our 5 on 5. We're pleased to welcome back Republican Secretary of State candidate and former legislator Dennis Richardson. Welcome back to Southern Oregon. How are you?
It's good to be here.
It's good to see you back at home. So how much time are you spending up campaigning across the state for this race?
About half of my time is in the Portland area, and then I'm traveling wherever I can. It's important that people know that there's hope for the rest of the state because it's been controlled by Portland Metro for so long. And there's been no check and balance in the way that the power has been used. And so it's an opportunity for me to come in, be elected, and represent the people against the bureaucracy instead of another guy who's a career politician who's going to be representing the bureaucracy against the people.
Let's get straight to how this race is unfolding in these last couple of weeks. Democratic opponent Labor Commissioner Brad Avakian is trying to tie your conservative social views to your potential work as Secretary of State. How do you respond to that?
Well, I say, Brad, this is not about running for governor. He's running for governor. That's what he wants. This is a step on that path. And what we really need is a Secretary of State who is going to ensure that the elections are fair, that they're open, that it's transparent, that we restore trust, that the corporations division is function in a way that welcomes business and helps Oregon businesses to work their way through the bureaucratic maze, and where you use the audit capacity as it's intended, and that is to ensure that the people's money is well spent. And so when I focus on what the Secretary of State job does, there's really no room for all of these discussions about social issues and all of that, which is merely a political ploy to try and get people to vote for him instead of me.
What do people need to know about the role of Secretary of State in Oregon?
Well, it's a very important position. It's the second position, as we know.
Yes.
Kate Brown is now governor because of it. So in some ways, it's like a lieutenant governor in other states. The primary function is to ensure that we don't waste the money that we are allotting to various programs. And in the past, it's been used where you do audits, but you don't audit anything controversial. If you'll notice, there's been no audit of Cover Oregon, where we spent $300 million on a website project, no audit of the CRC Bridge project. We spent almost $200 million planning this bridge over the Columbia River and didn't even have full agreement from the state of Washington about how it was all going to work out. No audit, no lessons learned, no embarrassment to the power structure. And the Secretary of State should have been all over that. And so as Secretary of State, I will ensure that the people's money is tracked, that we learn from the bad experiences and don't repeat them over and over again like we've seen in the past.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. Not much more in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back to our 5 on 5. Again, we're here with Republican Secretary of State candidate and former Southern Oregon legislator Dennis Richardson. So, Dennis, it's been more than a decade since a Republican was elected to statewide office here in Oregon. What makes you think that you can change this streak, if you will?
Well, I was retired after losing to Kitzhaber, but then I was approached by people that were doing polling, and they said, do you realize you have 67% name recognition? And everything that you wanted to do to make things more transparent and accountable, you could do as Secretary of State when you're over the audit capacity. You'll be the chief auditor, and you can actually track the money and expose the waste, the fraud, and the abuse of power. And that finally convinced me that I needed to get back into this race. There's a lot of voters' remorse in Portland because everything I said about Kitzhaber was true. I said, even in the debate, that if he is elected, he will never fulfill his term because of what's going on in that office. It was absolutely right. You'd be amazed at the number of Democrats up in Portland who are saying, we should have voted for Richardson, we didn't, but we're not going to make that mistake again. We want somebody in there who will help show what's really going on. We need checks and balances in the state, and I'll provide that.
So you have a lot, as you mentioned, name recognition in the Portland area. You have to win Portland. Obviously, you can basically win the rest of the state and lose Portland and still lose the election. How do you win there?
It's all about percentages. I don't have to win in Multnomah County. I have to get between 30% and 33%. And it's all about turnout in the rest of the state because it's a total vote that counts.
Sure.
So the more we have individuals that will show up and vote in the rest of the state, the less the percentage I need to win in Portland and still win the election. And so it's about turning out to vote. We need every voter to come out and to say, we're going to have change. If you don't like what you've been getting, don't keep voting the way you've been voting or not voting at all. So every vote does count, and I'm hoping that the voters of Oregon will give me, Dennis Richardson, a chance to show what I can do as Secretary of State.
I rarely ask state-level politicians national-level questions, but I do want to get this question in. We hosted Southern Oregon's only gubernatorial debate right here in these studios. It's a scenario you're very familiar with. Last week, what grade would you give your party for the presidential election?
That's a tough question because I don't know the ins and outs of it. Probably a very low grade for both of them. And the reason is I watched the primary, and it seemed like it was more about controlling power in Washington, D.C. than it was promoting the process for selecting a Republican candidate. And so I look at both of these candidates and what's going on. It's political theater. And so we have the government you see, and then you have the power base that's trying to make sure that their person wins. I don't know what's really happening there. I've just decided I'm focusing on Oregon, where we really can make a difference and have some honesty and open and transparent government again, if we can have the natural checks and balances you have when both parties are represented. That's what I'll offer.
Good to see you. Thanks so much for being here. Appreciate it. Stay with us. We'll be right back.